So, I had a conversation with a man named Kenneth. He works for Lester Chang, and he told me that politics is all about relationships and leverage and timing. And he said there's something that it works on the fundamental foundation of normalizing anything. In other words, most people cannot handle a dramatic change. They want someone to hold their hand during the transition, and that's what a politician is supposed to be able to do. He says, I promise I'm going to make everything better, and I'm going to be the one, and you start to associate him with that. And in other words, for peace, there's this man, Aaron Cohen. I don't trust that he came up with this because he always seemed to copy, or not copy, I feel like he would hear things he liked and then say them. So he says there's laws of peace. Some make peace, some take peace, some keep peace. Some steal peace, some love peace, some chase peace, and some borrow peace. But only one can create peace. And he believes this is the 8 priestly divisions from Moses. Anyway, so the characteristics of love, avoidant. This is something I read in and then we'll do Love Addict after, from SLAA literature. This is sex and love, addiction or avoidance. 1, evade intensity within the relationship by creating intensity in activities, usually addictions outside the relationship. 2, avoid being known in the relationship in order to protect themselves from engulfment and control by the other person. 3, avoid intimate contact with their partners using a variety of processes such as distancing techniques. And then we have the characteristics of the love avoidant. 1, assign disproportionate value and attention to the object of affection. 2, this is the love addict. 2, unrealistic expectations for unconditional positive regard. And 3, neglecting oneself while in the relationship. In SLA, they also talk about what are signs of healthy boundaries. So I'll just read through them. They're not listed in numbered order. Revealing a little of the self at a time and then checking to see how the other person responds to my sharing. Moving step by step into intimacy. Putting a new acquaintanceship on hold until you check for compatibility. Deciding whether a potential relationship will be good for me. Staying focused on my own growth and recovery. Weighing the consequences before acting on a sexual impulse. Being sexual when I want to be sexual, concentrating largely on my own pleasure rather than monitoring reactions of a partner. Maintaining personal values despite what others want. Noticing when someone else displays inappropriate boundaries. Saying no to food, gifts, touch, or sex you don't want. Asking a person before touching them. Respect for others, not taking advantage of someone's generosity. Self-respect, not giving too much and hope that someone will love you. Not allowing someone to take advantage of your generosity. Trusting own decisions. Defining my truth as I see it. Knowing who I am and what I want. Recognizing that friends and partners are not mind readers. Clearly communicating my wants and needs, recognizing that I may be turned down, but I can ask. Becoming my own loving parent. Talking to myself with gentleness, humor, love, and respect. I want to share from Elite Ladies Club on Instagram. The potential we see in others is actually what we would do if we were in their shoes. And 2, if a man... So that's something I always... since I heard this a few months ago, I really liked it. That the potential I see in someone else is what I would do if I was in their shoes. So I say, oh, he has potential. It's because what I would do if I was in his shoes was ABC. That's the potential I'm seeing. I'm seeing the potential of what I could get him to do, in other words. Not for bad, not like to force him, but to help him. And then 2, this account on Instagram, Elite Ladies Club, it says, if a man doesn't have peace, I'll try to take yours. If a man doesn't have success, I'll try to take yours. Actually, I think that's it from that. Okay, but I want to share about boundaries and similar... Oh, before I share about boundaries, so our sages said in berachos 30b, if a person should estimate himself. If he thinks he's capable of having intent in his heart, he should pray. Otherwise, he shouldn't pray. In other words, you have to be your own best judge. Do you think you're able to focus properly on your prayers? Like, do you think or is your heart really numb? And then your prayer would be like numbness. So, in a Woman's Empowerment Club by Bridget Newton, we talked about boundaries. So, rigid boundaries avoids intimacy in close relationships. Porous boundaries let me just do all the rigid boundaries first. Okay, rigid boundaries avoids intimacy in close relationships, unlikely to ask for help, has few close relationships, may seem detached even with romantic partners, very protective of personal information, keeps others at a distance to avoid the possibility of rejection. Porous boundaries overshares personal information, difficulty saying no to the requests of others, accepting of abuse or disrespect, dependent on the opinions of others, over-involved with others' problems, fears rejection if they don't comply with others. And then we have healthy boundaries. Values own opinions, doesn't compromise values for others, shares personal information in an appropriate way, not under oversharing, knows personal wants and needs and can communicate them, accepts when others say no to them. And I want to talk a little bit about, I want to share from Shawn, sheshn, Hashmatpour. And he shares a little bit about how, like, most nice guys are just men who really have not integrated their rage, their power, with a smile. They're always trying to be like the unintense safe guy. It leads to sitting on a volcano of suppressed anger. They look like they're calm, but there's really shame there, unmet desire festering, and it comes out in passive-aggressive behavior, emotional neediness, even quiet resentment. A man has to learn how to feel his intensity without fearing it. Masculine leadership is calm, not passive, not controlling, not rushing, not dominating, but he speaks from a center, moves with purpose, and adjusts when needed without being reactive. This is what women want, what teams need, and what the audience responds to. If you want real results, build capacity, not just tactics, to be able to hold more pressure without losing yourself, whether there's more eyes on you, or there's more risk, or emotion, or power, because the more you can hold, the more you can lead. Masculinity is not about suppressing how you feel, it's about the nervous system capacity to contain it, direct it, and transmute it into power. And you're not failing if you're too emotional, you're failing because you don't know how to hold it. So without trying to fix, suppress, or perform around it, where we can leak power by, he's saying a person, he's talking about men, but I want to talk about the masculine in everyone, and just this side of everyone. He says we leak power by toning ourselves down to be more palatable or being scarily intense. There's, pretending, suppressing, wavering, untrained, and this is the self-doubt and confidence value and energy, because if the energy collapses the second you're challenged, none of it really matters. For example, holding tension in the face of rejection, staying relaxed when a woman is emotional, or showing up when business feels like it's flatlining. You cannot transmit power when you're begging to be liked, which is approval seeking, and emotional containment is actually on a higher level than emotional suppression. Why? Because when you feel everything and still choose how to move, whether it's sadness, lust, or grief, it's different than pushing it down because you can't feel it. So that energy is being suppressed in the container. It's like being pushed down rather than actually transmuted and felt and directed. Resentment is just unexpressed leadership. It's a wake-up call telling you to claim your power and stop playing small if you find that you have resentments. That's often another step in this. And then he says, from speaking to, he's speaking now about the side that men might think, well, but what about what women want? If I act that way, will I really get the woman? So he says, a woman doesn't actually want what you might think is called a perfect man. She wants a grounded man. You're not supposed to have it all figured out, but she needs to feel like you won't collapse when she brings her chaos or softness or her energy of testing. Perfectionism is a fear in disguise and keeps you in your head, versus being grounded enough to say, I don't know yet, with confidence and still be trusted. And this doesn't matter if it's in content, like a content creator, sales, dating. They're all games of energy, presence, certainty, clarity. You have to show up as you. So I'm going to read again. He says that a woman doesn't necessarily want the perfect man. She wants a grounded man. So he doesn't have to have it all figured out. But how does he behave when nobody knows what's going on? Like, could he say, I don't know yet, with confidence and still be trusted? And can he have his head on? Can he enough, but also be grounded and say, like, I understand she's bringing chaos or testing, or I feel like, like it's a lot, but I don't need to collapse. I could just show up. So it's not like you have to fix the problem or know everything yet. And that's a leader sometimes, is just showing up. If you don't lead, she will, and then you'll resent her for stepping up in the absence of your direction. And the masculine doesn't want to be told what to do. It moves first and creates space for the feminine to respond. Every movement you hesitate, she adapts, and then the polarity dies because she had to bridge the gap. The last thing I wanted to share today was one version of a reality, not the only. What I choose to do is what I'll get, and others too. So my portion, I was thinking, was love. I was choosing to be loving, trusting, respecting, with kindness and tolerance and patience. I was choosing to have strength and integrity. I was choosing to be in the richness and blessings and connection, to be in care and peace and positive feedback and gentleness and satisfaction and support and pleasure. That was what I chose to cultivate. And then I felt like Aaron, this was like the male counterpart, for example, like from, let's say, what Shawn, sheshn, Hashmatpour just shared about, like, meeting that energy, if he's showing up or not. And I said, well, what is he, like, let's say I just did the experiment. What is he going to create? What am I feeling like he's giving? And then what's going to be his future? So that I stop holding it against him and recognize that he's building his own future for himself. It's not about me. And it was deprivation, unfairness, cruelty, degradation, being oppressed, insecurity, lack of safety, being controlled, friends and family turning into your enemy, humiliation, abuse and neglect, rejection, abandonment, stinginess, and being insulted, rebuked, and criticized constantly whenever the guard is down. So that was a way for me to let go and not have so much resentment, recognizing that was going to be his portion, whatever he did to me. And that's the truth about men. What you do to women, I believe, is what you will end up having for yourself, because it's what you are bridging and what you are leading. So you're leading your future. You're leading the future life, and the feminine is the response. So you will get the response that you're putting out. And do I wish for Aaron that he would be able to do tshuva? I mean, because we're done the video now, but like, so as a comment, I mean, he could choose to, what could he choose? He could choose to get, if he gives, love, trust, respect, kindness, tolerance, patience, strength, and integrity, richness, blessing, connections, care, peace, positive feedback, gentleness, satisfaction, support, and pleasure. He could choose to get that if that's what he gives. And I wish that he be successful in whatever it is that he chooses. If he wants to create, if he thinks it's worth it to, if he thinks that there's times that he should be giving deprivation, unfairness, cruelty, degradation, being oppressed, insecurity, lack of safety, being controlled, friends and family turning in your enemy, humiliation, abuse, neglect, rejection, abandonment, stinginess, and being insulted, rebuked, and criticized constantly whenever your guard is down, if that's what he invests in, that's what he should grow successfully. But if he invests in the portion that I spoke about before, then that's what he should grow. I wish him success in whatever portion he chooses to cultivate in the future for him. Cultivate now for the future version of him. Amen. And me too, and for everyone. And may we be guided to have a good portion. And may our nervous systems be, healed, and our boundaries and our love, the ability to be able to, basically the idea is to be able to handle change, to handle peace, to handle love, to handle, praying. Remember we talked about even prayer. Like, could we handle praying? And our boundaries and our presence. Okay, bye.